Welcome back. Thanks so much for staying with the AM Report. As Arabile said before the break, South African football legend Benni McCarthy is telling his own story on his own terms. Benni, his authorized biography, is now available at bookstores and online. The book traces an extraordinary journey from the gang-ravaged streets of Hanover Park to European Champions League glory. McCarthy remains the only South African to have won UEFA Champions League and is still Bafana Bafana's all-time top scorer. Co-written with respected football writer Mark Gleeson, the biography is unfiltered and candid. The foreword is written by Jose Mourinho, the coach who trusted him at FC Porto and guided him to Europe's biggest prize. As he promises in his new book, I got the chance to chat to him from his base in Scotland, and he explains what was the most difficult part of his story to talk about.
People only see the parts that when you succeeded and when it's gone well, but nobody knows the behind the scenes, when you come back home, you're on your own, you don't know the language, you don't know anybody. And I think that was the hardest thing for me to talk about, because when you live it, it's okay because you're on your own and you just have to accept. But when you have to tell, when you have to speak with somebody, when you talk about those things and it just brings back all those memories, oh my God, it was really hard. And sometimes I kind of felt that, do I really want to share these things? Because it wasn't, people just look, wow, you've made it so successful, but what you had to endure all those times, and I think that was the part that I found the hardest to talk about.
In the book, you speak about your relationship with Hanover Park and coming from the Cape Flats, an area which still today, unfortunately, is riddled by crime. How close were you to football not being your out and actually choosing a completely different path?
I was right on the doorstep of just choosing that path, because it was the only logical path there was, because even through football, you weren't guaranteed that you're going to get an opportunity, and then when you see how some of your friends, your close friends, your allies, people that you've played football with everywhere we go, like all of them decided that was the easiest part to fall into money and gain a little bit of popularity, because people fear you then when you join a gang or whatever gang. So you kind of had the protection of the gang members. So so you were in a safe environment, and if you're on the outside, you run the risk of getting battered, getting beat up all the time, because you're not part of that gang. So literally it was just a question of, do I or don't I? But like I said, I had a very strict dad. My dad was quite strict with us, because I think his upbringing was a little bit also tormented with that. So my dad's been to jail. My dad's been in prison. So when I was maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, I used to go with my mom to visit my dad on a Sunday, and it was a place I never wanted to go, because of everything that you see, to get to my dad, it took us forever, so I think with that, so when he came out, he wanted something different for us.
And having Coach Jose Mourinho speak about you in the way that he did in the forward, how much of an impact did he have in your career, and how much of what you learned with him still influences you today, if at all?
When I was at a time in my life where I was vulnerable, I wanted to come back to South Africa and give it all up and try my luck, because yes, I struggled in Spain. It was very tough, and when you go to work every single day and you outplay and you outshine everybody, but just because you have your skin color and you an African, like you in the back of the line, and the coach made it so visible. Even teammates, yeah. So it was at that time, and then I just wanted to get out of there. I just wanted to leave. So I was willing to drop it. I go back to South Africa and I start over again. That's how bad it was. And yeah, Porto, they were in the market for a striker. And when it said, Porto is interested, I just jumped at it. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I just jumped at it because I was miserable and in at Celta, and I just wanted out. So Porto came knocking, and I couldn't have been more right about just wanting to get out because I got probably one of the best people in football that you could ever come across. He made me cry so many times because the way he treated me from Spain and Portugal, his neighbors, and they literally are the same kind of people, and how people can be so different from one side of the scale to the next. And yeah, he treated me like a son. He completely changed my game. And I think, yeah, that's probably why he was able to say the things about me that he saw, because I really changed the way I play, the way I look at life from my experiences that I've gone through. And then him just being a great human being and treating people equal and not having a different opinion on base where you come from and your background and your race. And yeah, and I was able to just pay him back for opening his arms for me and making me feel like a human being again.
So if there was no Jose Mourinho, there maybe would never have been a Benny McCarthy.
Very true. Yeah, because I was at that stage where I'm just packing my bags and I'm getting the hell out of there. They can do with whatever they want to with my contract, with my clearance, but I'm on that plane and I'm going back to South Africa. That was my mind was half made up, and I was just, there's no way in hell that I'm staying here, because I had a thought of time with that manager. And, and I think he's kind of made me eat that, when you just, it was the first time where I genuinely wanted to knock someone out cold and don't care if I even go to jail for it, because that's how bad it was. Racism at its peak.
We've mentioned UEFA Champions League. We had AFCON MVP, joint top scorer, World Cup. You've done what no other South African has done. Your records still stand, even though you've been retired from the game for a number of years now, and you've gone through the highs and the lows of the game. Your top three memories and achievements.
The top three, the first one would would have to be um, when you get that phone call to say that Ajax Amsterdam wants you to come over, and you've been playing in the gangster league. You've been playing everywhere, literally hoping for an opportunity and breakthrough, for Premier, for PSL team, and then you get a phone call to say like you're going on trials to Ajax Amsterdam. They really love what they see. They want you to come and see if you can adapt, if you can just slot in, then you have a life-changing opportunity. Of course, it has to be Burkina Faso. I have to talk about that because gone to Ajax Amsterdam, um, matured, improved, became a much better player, and then gone with Bafana to a major tournament where nobody gave us a chance. Nobody gave us this, to an inexperienced team. And that Jomo Sono, he might be the prince of South African football, but he's got this one completely wrong. And yeah, we were able almost to imitate what the 96 team did. We went all the way to the final, and it was, I think it was a sensational tournament for me, where I showed so much maturity, growth, and what a year of playing in European football has made such a huge difference, change to me. Winning the Champions League with Porto is the ultimate. You know, I think the World Cup, that's the only one that goes bigger and better than winning the Champions League. But as a player playing for a modest club, with so much ambition, that you've gone against the giants of world football. And yeah, we were able to win it. And the part that we took out some incredible teams along the way out. So yeah, so those were the three moments, standout moments, that when I talk about it, it's my biggest passion. It's my most passion that you hear me talk about it. So
Benny, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and congratulations on the authorized biography that has now come out.
thank you very much. I really appreciate it.